Welcome to the Smart Strategy for CPAs podcast, where I help you work less and earn more. My name is Geraldine Carter. Today we're talking about how to price advisory services. This episode is paired with the previous episode, how to package advisory services. So if you haven't listened to that episode yet, I recommend you go back and listen to that one first. I broke out the topics, how to package and how to price advisory services, into two episodes because there is already a ton of spread inside these two topics alone, and I wanted to keep it manageable for you. So, why should you care about pricing advisory services? Knowing how to price advisory services and knowing how to think about how to price advisory services can make your CPA firm much more profitable and quickly. If you don't know how to price or how to think about pricing, you might run into some common potholes, like underestimating how much your clients value the outcomes of your services, a conversion rate that is lower than it could be, or underpricing your services, which likely leads to overworking in order to compensate, and so on. In the previous episode on packaging services, a key concept to help think about how to package services was to ask the question, who is this for and what does it do? Because if you're a listener with a CPA firm, you likely have a client roster with clients in it that run quite a breadth of annual revenue, size of business, and so on. And trying to create one single service that works for everybody just makes the whole thing explode. It won't work. So we need to design services that make sense, that apply for different kinds of business owners at different stages or phases of growth of their business. And in order to price these services appropriately, we first need to know what that service does and who it's for. So what we can do is break out what might be a common CPA's sample client roster into 5 possible buckets. The first bucket could be the serial entrepreneur with 15 companies whose total annual revenue is in the 8 figures, let's say 15 million, whose businesses all fit together like a puzzle, and whose financial position is vastly improved when all of these businesses are treated together, taking the whole picture into account as opposed to treating them as 15 siloed entities. The second bucket could be the business owner who's well into the 7 figures and wants to grow, perhaps by buying, leasing, or constructing a new location. And they need help playing out the profitability of each scenario weighed against the hassle and the timeline of constructing something new that might take years, or leasing or buying something that already exists. The third bucket might be the business owner who is moving from 6 figures into 7, who has challenges related to staffing up and planning cash flow as staff get up to speed and begin to produce. The fourth bucket might be the business owner in the early 6-figure stage going from solo to a small team who wants to stop the cycle of paying their staff more than they're paying themselves, only to find that heartbreaking, so they let the staff go so that they can make more money themselves, but then they're back to working like a dog, and they don't know how to break that cycle. The fifth bucket might be the 6-figure business owner who just wants bookkeeping and quarterly meetings to make sure their estimated payments are on track, how are they progressing compared to their annual budget, and some straightforward tax planning. So, who is it for and what does it do? And then, once we have the buckets separated, then we can get into what is an appropriate price range for not just the services, but the outcomes. What I see across the folks that I work with is that the first bucket, the 8-figure entrepreneur who can't help himself, acquires businesses left, right, and center, turns this over, turns that over. He's got this new thing going on, but it's always one picture with lots of moving targets. That in air quotes, advisory services, which is now something much more like fractional CFO, is in the $120,000 to $150,000 a year price range. The second bucket of the 7-figure business owner who wants to grow, who needs help understanding the profitability of a variety of scenarios to help them grow, the price of those services ranges between $80,000 and $120,000. The third bucket, which is the business owner who is moving from 6 figures into 7, who has challenges related to staffing up and planning cash flow, has prices ranging from $40,000 to $85,000 a year. The fourth bucket, with the business owner in the early 6-figure stage, going from solo to small team, who wants to stop the cycle of paying their staff more than they're paying themselves, ranges in the $20,000 to $40,000 range. And the fifth bucket, the six-figure business owner, who wants something simple, bookkeeping, quarterly meetings, estimated payments on track vis-a-vis their budget, some straightforward tax planning. The prices for the services in the fifth bucket range from $7,500 to about $15,000 a year. So the question that answers is, how have other people successfully priced advisory services? The question that it doesn't answer is, how do you price advisory services? Hopefully, by giving you some ranges and some examples, now you have a sense of what is, in air quotes, reasonable and what is in the ballpark. But your prices will be tied to the value that you can provide. And the value that you can provide is always subjective, and it is always in the eye of the beholder being your buyer. And the value to your buyer is always also a moving target, based on a variety of factors, including but not limited to what else is happening in the marketplace. But what I want to offer you is how to think about advisory services to make it easier for you to begin packaging and pricing your services and testing them on some clients who you trust to pilot it with. So a few things to remember. There is no single right price. Often people will ask me, what is the right price for this? But one right price is a fictional idea. And how I want you to think about it is multi-price. There are often multiple prices that people will pay for things depending on how they're packaged up. This is why giving your clients a choice of 3 is so helpful. It relieves you of having to guess at what your client is willing to pay. In addition to providing a choice of 3, bronze, silver, gold, you can think about varying payment terms. In many cases, and of course in the case of advisory services, it's monthly or ongoing, so you're likely to have monthly pricing. But you might consider having a price that is offering to pay upfront in full for a year for a 10% discount. Stay in a multi-price mindset so that your buyer can decide what way of paying works best for them, while of course also works for you. Another one is being afraid of your own prices. For many CPAs, these numbers can represent a significant price hike. And it's likely that because you're really good at your craft, you undervalue it. Because you think that what you do is obvious to everyone. And why would they pay me this much money for this service? Surely they can do this themselves, right? They're coming to you because you're an expert, because you provide valuable information that helps them make a better, more clear decision. So remember that the first sale is always to yourself. And when you're new at this, to go with the highest price that you can get out of your mouth without turning beet red. Lastly, remember that packaging and pricing your services with this level of clarity will benefit both you and your client. Your clients are likely to get better outcomes. You'll be in a better position to understand and manage your capacity, making your business run more smoothly and with less stress. And you and your client both create value and profit from working together in a more proactive, intentional way. So, learning how to price your services is a key piece of being able to make more while working less as a CPA. If you want more material like this, be sure to join me the last 2 weeks of October for a series of micro trainings hosted on Crowdcast. I'll be covering packaging, pricing, positioning, proposals, websites, how to get better clients, and so much more. If you want to register, be sure to subscribe to my daily drip of business strategy at shethinksbigcoaching.com, or keep an eye out for a bonus episode that will have the links to attend. All right, that's it from me. Have a great week.